From the Corner Office is brought to you by Synovus Bank, championing business growth through trusted, relationship-driven banking throughout the Gulf Coast region. Rick Howell has been a counselor and leader at Samaritan Counseling Services, a nonprofit based in Sarasota, for nearly 30 years. While well known to his clients and organization, Rick has also remained, in his own words, behind the scenes for the most part. Writing about leaders like Rick, who are doing important yet out of the spotlight work in the community, is something the Business Observer excels in. To read more, subscribe. Go to businessobserverfl.com. Hello and welcome to the Business Observer's From the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Rick Howell, executive director of the Samaritan Counseling Services of the Gulf Coast. Rick, thank you for being here and welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Mark. I'm excited to be with you.
We're going to chat about your career, 27 years at Samaritan Counseling. We're going to talk about what Samaritan Counseling is and what the mission is. But let's get our audience, Rick, to know you a little bit better with some rapid fire. I say rapid fire light because sometimes the answers go a little bit longer than rapid. First ever question. So what was your first car, Rick?
My first car was a 1968 Camaro, and it was a beauty.
That is sweet. Awesome.
Oh, gosh, it was olive green and hard top, and I got rid of it 3 years later because I got a 1981 Camaro.
Wow, you upgraded.
I'm not sure. I thought it was at the time, and when I sold it to a young man, and I said, now, if you ever sell it, I would like to have first right of refusal to get it.
First right of refusal, yeah.
And then he totaled it. So,
oh, man.
Anyway, but it was a sweet car.
Yeah, pretty cool. Okay, what was your first job, your first real paying job?
I worked at Lakeshore Villas Mobile Home Park in Tampa, Florida, and I was a grunt man, which means I mowed the yards, I picked up the garbage, even had a time where I was catching ducks and relocating them away from the property. It was quite an experience.
Yeah, so you had a variety of things. You were duck catcher and lawn mower.
That's right.
Yeah. What was when and to where was the first time you were out of the United States, and what was that experience like?
Oh, wow. I went to London, England at the age of 15 to play soccer. I went as a part of the Tampa Bay Rowdies organization. They led a trip over there. It wasn't based on my skill. I wasn't ever in that professional world, but it was a wonderful opportunity, and I found out that it was a lot about the world that I would like to explore over time.
Yeah. Well, it's such a unique opportunity at that age, and obviously football over there is ginormous, as we know. So that probably was a really cool experience as a high school kid.
No, it really was.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So Rick, all right. So you're here. You said 27 years with Samaritan Counseling. For those who don't know, what's kind of the sort of elevator pitch or 30-second story of what Samaritan Counseling is and what its mission is?
The mission statement of Samaritan is to instill hope and transform lives by providing excellent professional, spiritually integrated mental health counseling services. And we are a organization started by Church of the Palms in 1990 as a part of their long-range planning process in 1996. And I was hired in 1999 to start the organization. And we're basically an outpatient mental health counseling organization that is committed to providing our services to people, whether or not they have the means to afford it. And and our unique interest is that when folks reach out to us, we can include their spirituality, their faith journey in that counseling process if they are interested.
Right, but it's not, as I've learned from talking to your team over the years, it's not religious in nature, in a sense of who you are helping.
Exactly. We're not evangelists. We're not proselytizers. We are people who are highly skilled mental health counselors. They're all either licensed or in the process of being licensed, like a registered intern with the state, and who have a additional training component of when folks want their faith journey included, we know how to do that in a way that's beneficial to them.
How did you get involved in this work? I mean, obviously you've been there, almost 30 years, so you've been doing counseling the services for quite a while. How and why did you get into this field, Rick?
Well, the reality is that I had a personal crisis of faith when I was in graduate school, and I was fortunate enough that the graduate school had counselors on staff, and so I started uh, a counseling relationship with one of those counselors, and I found it life giving to me. I found it so beneficial, and actually, I had some God misconceptions that were not very healthy and were including to some of my anxiety and stress, and having an opportunity to discuss that part of my journey with the counselor was very beneficial, and I thought, "Wow, if I could invest my life in helping others in a similar way, that would be a worthwhile investment."
What was going on in your life that you're comfortable talking about here that sort of led to that crisis you talked about?
Oh, well, I was in graduate school. My wife and I had just gotten married. It was 1985. We got married in Fort Lauderdale. We moved to Louisville, Kentucky, where I was in seminary. I was going to school full time and working three part-time jobs. And all of a sudden, I experienced lockjaw and had this real painful jaw experience and went to see my doctor. And my doctor said, "Hey, you're not coping with the stress of all this new stuff in your life, um, and I think you need to talk to a counselor." And I was like, "Great," and so I did, and it was just very helpful.
Yeah, so you use that experience, went through college with that, and now you've been with this organization for quite some time. What's your role now? Do you see clients and do counseling? Or are you more of the sort of overseer administrator? Tell us about what your role is day to day now.
Well, I basically have three components to my role. One is as a administrator, the executive director role. One is as a fundraiser, and then one is as a uh, clinician. I have chosen to not discontinue being a counselor because I believe my continued role as a counselor enables me to be a better administrator and a better fundraiser through that ongoing experience. And 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 frankly, it's a very light giving part of what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's that thing that it happens in a lot of fields, right? Like in journalism, you're a really good reporter, and then they're like, "Hey, you know what? You should be an editor, but do you really have the skill set?" And then you learn that, but then you give up what you were really good at that allowed you to be in that. And the same thing with, you don't want to give up the counseling side just because you're the administrator.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. I value the administrative fundraising role because I believe it enables a lot of counselors
Yeah.
to do their good work.
Yeah. What are you seeing? This is kind of a general statement, but general question. We hear how mental health counseling is paramount right now. What are some of the trends that you're seeing when clients are coming in, the issues they have, things that are coming up, if there's any one or two trend lines you're seeing?
Well, I think the biggest trend line is anxiety and the loss of a sense of path. I think a lot of our young people, in particular our young men, are struggling with what does it mean to be a young man in 2026, and compare that with, including in that is this whole sense of where are the moorings? Where are we stabilizing? The culture seems to be struggling with providing those kinds of stabilizers.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about sense of purpose for young men and this manosphere trend. We could go into a whole nother rabbit hole. I'm sure you've heard a lot about the manosphere and all these different influencers and things that come up. That's a totally different conversation. But going back to you and your career, when we talk about leadership, Rick, what's a characteristic that you think every leader needs to have that you've seen in your organization?
Wow, just one. I probably
Or
the first
give us a
the
few.
first the first quality has to be passion for the mission, right? We're a nonprofit organization, and our hope is that we will inspire others to invest in our work so that we can work with people whether or not they have the capacity to pay for those services. Passion enables us to be creative. It enables us to be responsive to the varieties of challenges that come with running a mental health counseling organization. One of my colleagues is a investigator for a national organization that accredits mental health counseling centers across the country. And he is frequent to say that mental health agencies are very fragile and that a lot of uh, factors play into it, the agency being able to be successful. So, for example, if we are responsible for raising money and all of a sudden our community has uh, three major storms, two hurricanes back to back, all of a sudden the contributions start getting funneled to the hierarchy of needs, and it so there's a number of those factors that um, play into doing what we do, and passion sustains us when things become tough.
Yeah. Yeah, super important, right? You're not going into that as a half loosey goosey kind of thing. You mentioned right before we started recording off the camera that as a good leader, listening is really important. Tell us about that philosophy that you have about listening versus talking as a leader.
Well, I think it's guided by a reality of awareness of my own gifts and talents. I don't tend to think of myself as an expert. I don't tend to think of myself as someone who uh, comes with all the knowledge that I can disseminate to people. What I bring is a deep desire to connect and understand, and to let people uh, show me where they are in their world and their journey. I had a client come in one time and she said, "I'm Wiccan. Can you help me?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about Wicca, Wicca, Wiccan,
With
and
with our
but I'm willing to listen.
yeah.
And if you can share with me that part of your journey, and we can connect with how it's a part of your emotional and mental health, I'm happy to do that."
Yeah. What's a lesson, Rick, that you've learned as a leader that maybe you wish you knew earlier? One of those if I knew then what I know now situations. What's something that sticks out in your mind in that way?
Well, probably the number one for that, Mark, is that I don't have to be the one completely responsible for the success of this organization. I am an only child, and so that pressure can creep in sometimes. And when I slow that thought process down and look around me and see all of the great people that are associated with Samaritan, I can breathe, and I can know that all of the varieties of activities that make Samaritan strong are being taken care of by a variety of employees and volunteers and donors, all of whom love Samaritan deeply and are passionate about its success. When I remember that, then it takes a lot of pressure off of me and I can be truly myself.
Yeah, that's certainly a lesson that sometimes life experience takes, when you first start, you're like, I got this and I'm the only one who can do this. I totally understand that. Talk about mentorship, Rick. Do you have or who have been some key mentors or people in your life that you've learned from?
Well, I love the phrase, "If you see a turtle on the fence post, you know it didn't get there itself," right? I
If you see
love
a
that
turtle on a
image,
fence post, it didn't get there itself. I love it.
right? And, there have been times when I felt like I was on a fence post.
Yeah,
Uh, but but for me, the image is that lots of mentors have poured into Rick and his journey, and I can go back to school teachers. I'm still in touch with my 2nd grade school teacher. I
really
can go
amazing.
I can go back to graduate school professors or, my mom and dad, or I have lots of them. As a executive director of a nonprofit, oftentimes there's some, uh, laughter or joking about the executive director working with a board of directors and the challenges that come with that, even though we know that for the organization to be successful, they need to be working in tandem very closely. And I have been very, very fortunate, Mark, to have a great group of mentors along the way who have become members of our board of directors. One in particular is a gentleman named Ken Johns. And early on, he told me, Rick, there's going to be so much need that you're going to feel overwhelmed and feeling responsible for caring for the needs of the mental health needs of the folks in our community. You are going to have to remember that the team that you have that will be assembled to help you meet those needs need to be cared for as much as the caring they are
Interesting.
providing.
Yeah, that's a huge lesson. I would not have thought that. So that he's saying to you, look out for them because they're your frontline people that are dealing with these things. Which is really it's interesting and a good segue because as we're winding down here, I had a question for you. How do you lead when everyone looks to you for certainty in times of uncertainty where there was, 4 months with three major storms and people are living not in their homes and all this destruction around them. So how do you lead with optimism, positive certainty in difficult times? What are some things that you do personally?
Well, my the number one strategy there, Mark, is my faith. As a pastor, ordained pastor, I have been very much called by God to do this work. And it is my belief that if God calls us to do something, God provides what we need to do it. And so being mindful of that presence, that ongoing presence, is very important for me. The other thing that I use in those times of uncertainty are the certainties that I still have, which are good people, caring people, structures that are in place that will be able to sustain us through those times of uncertainty. I, I I don't believe Samaritan is where we are today on accident. I think we are here because our community deeply needs the kind of services we provide and the fact that we provide them for people who can't afford them on their own, which is why we have started this Let's Say Yes campaign. We're trying to be sustainable for the future, and folks are committing and giving to that campaign to help us uh, weather additional storms and also be responsive to additional opportunities, partnerships that Samaritan has with other organizations in town that are doing
Right.
really good work.
Yeah, this is a good podcast episode for the segues, because it's another segue to the last question I have for you, Rick, which is you and I connected over the Just Say Yes campaign, which I believe is ongoing as we are recording here in late April. What are we looking forward to? What are you looking forward to for the rest of the year with Samaritan Counseling, and how's the fundraising going?
Thank you. I two different pieces of that looking forward to. One is the ways that we are caring for our staff better because of the funds that have already come in. We have been able to start a 401k plan for our counselors, and we are better attending to their well-being because of the resources that are coming in. We had a goal of 4 million. We're actually at about 3.66 million right now, so we're about 340,000 out. So my excitement is to look for that commitment to come in over the next 6 to 8 months, and to be able to celebrate with the community what we are able to accomplish. I think it will help us both uh, be sustainable because of how we're caring for our people now, but also as we look to opportunities to expand and grow, how do we do that in a sustainable way? This campaign will help us answer that.
Excellent. It's fantastic. A lot of good things happening. Rick Howell, Executive Director of Samaritan Counseling Services of the Gulf Coast. Thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Thank you, Mark. It's been great to be with you.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.